Esther Liss spoke about the arms race at the 1980 Democratic Convention, and if you look inside of your dinner journals, you'll see a photo of her on our founding members page. Okay, so then, Director Dorothy Eldridge was in constant contact with Congress, especially Peter Rodino. I once referred to Lyndon Johnson's half-truths. Head down, eyes over glasses, Dorothy responded, "There are no half-truths, only lies." Imagine her reaction to Kellyanne's alternate facts. Then also inside the journal, the newspaper clippings page, there's the ad from 1957, November 15th, 1957, that sparked the beginning of SANE on a national level and also here. And so I'm going to read from that for a moment. "We are facing a danger unlike any danger that has ever before existed." So headlined the November 15th, 1957 ad that led to the founding of SANE. Dorothy Eldridge drove to that meeting on a snowy night with Hope Shapiro, Mildred Gertzel, and Loretta Freeman. Where's Loretta? Raise your hand. Where's Loretta? That ad rings truer than ever now. The uneasiness that exists inside Americans has to do with the fact that we are not living up to our moral capacity in the world. We have been living half a life. We've been developing our appetites, but we've been starving our purposes. We've been concerned with bigger incomes, bigger television screens, and bigger cars, but not with the big ideas on which our lives and freedoms depend. Our response to the challenge of today's world seems out of joint. The slogans and arguments that belong to the world of competitive national sovereignties, a world of plot and counterplot, no longer fit the world of today or tomorrow. The sovereignty of the human community comes before all others, before the sovereignty of groups, tribes, or nations. In that community, man has the right to live and to grow, to breathe unpoisoned air, to work on uncontaminated soil. He has the right to his sacred nature. If what nations are doing has the effect of destroying these natural rights, whether by upsetting the delicate balances on which life depends, or fouling the air, or devitalizing the land, or tampering with the genetic integrity of man himself, then it becomes necessary for people to restrain and tame the nations. That was from our 1957 ad in the New York Times. So you see, we have a great heritage here. Eldridge, Liss, Freeman, Oxfeld. Edith is here as well. Hauer, Hyman, Holder, the list goes on. There are no alternative facts, we say, only lies. And we are facing a danger unlike any that has ever before existed. So says Maribel. And so in honor of all of our founding members from 60 years ago to today, let's all give a nice round of applause. And I'm going to speak much less. This is my normal place to talk about the state of our organization, but we're running behind time a little bit. So I'm not going to speak as long as I normally do, for one, because we're running behind on time, and for another, my speech has developed legs. And my speech, pre-prepared speech is not here in front of me. So I am going to speak from what I remember from my speech. So it'll be much briefer. It'll come from the heart. Okay, so last year, as you all, how many of you were here last year to hear Shigeko Sasumori and Kevin Martin? Yes. Last year, Kevin Martin, right after the election, he said that it seemed like we were going to have to both fight against the policies of our government, as we always have, but also about the way in which decisions are made and the way in which those policies are developed. And unfortunately, it seems he was absolutely right. And that's why That's why Chris Hedges' speech in just a few minutes on resisting American fascism is so timely and appropriate, because we're dealing not only with policies, but with process. We also, as you know, invited First Friends, honoring First Friends for their work in resisting those kinds of policies that are both unconstitutional and unwelcome in this country. Not the refugees, but the policies. Shigeko Sasamori kind of completed a circle for our organization, because she was adopted by Norman Cousins, another one of our founders, and she spoke at length about the dangers of nuclear weapons. She was a victim of a nuclear weapon drop in Hiroshima in 1945. We have begun a campaign. Well, I mean, we've been campaigning against nuclear weapons and for nuclear abolition for the last 60 years. But last year we began a new campaign, 10,000 Origami Cranes for Peace, inspired in part by Shigeko, who taught a number of us how to make paper cranes in our office after she spoke here that day. And we now have approximately 5,000 to 6,000 paper cranes that have been made by people all over the area. Well, Ayumi's there, but there's Nancy Tajani. I'm not going to list and name everyone. Jendi Owen, Ayumi's folding one right now. If you look inside your journals, you'll see a sheet of origami paper, so that if you're so inclined, there's a peace crane making table in that room. Now, believe me, peace crane making is not just an arts and crafts project. It's also going to be a political statement and a community building effort, because we've had people in high schools, we've had people in middle schools, we've had people in grammar schools, we've had people in colleges making these peace cranes, and every time they do so, we talk about Sadako and the story of the peace cranes, and we talk about why we need to abolish nuclear weapons today. And so we are going to take the 10,000 origami cranes and bring them to our legislators, probably in May, to let them know that we're still out here fighting against nuclear weapons and for nuclear disarmament. And so if you could add one of your cranes to the 10,000, that would be great. Or if you know of a place where people would make the peace cranes, that would be even better. So that's project number one. Project number two is to move the money. Lorna mentioned it, to take money from the overbloated military budget, which Trump wants to expand by $54 billion more, a full 10%. And in your journal also, there's an action alert taken from the National Priorities Project, about how bad this budget is for our communities and for everyone. And so we ask you to take a moment and make a telephone call to Senator Booker, Senator Menendez, your own local representative, to oppose that budget. We have Move the Money postcards in the hallway, which we will be delivering. We've already delivered about 4,000 to Senator Booker and Senator Menendez. We have another 1,000 perhaps to deliver, but again, sometime in April, to tell our senators that we need to reprioritize our spending and move it from the military into programs like education, like the Environmental Protection Agency, like you can fill in the blanks. And you know, Donald Trump has only continued the policies that were begun